Jacques Futrelle was born in Pike County, Georgia in 1875. He opted not to go to college and instead took a job at the Atlanta Journal when he graduated from high school at age 18. He left for Boston for a journalist job, but returned to the Atlanta Journal within a year. In 1895, at the age of 20, he married Lily Mae Peel and moved to New York. Futrelle got a job at the New York Herald as a member of the editorial team. The couple had 2 children, Virginia and John, while living in New York. While writing feature stories and news articles for the New York Herald, Jack began writing detective stories. A longtime admirer of the Sherlock Holmes series, Futrelle used his creativity to formulate captivating stories in the genre of detective fiction. During this time, he was sent to report on the Spanish-American War. He spent close to a year reporting and writing from the front lines. Exhaustion and ill health eventually drove him to quit the work. Futrelle never returned to journalism after gaining back his strength. He moved to the city of Richmond, where he worked as a theater manager for 2 years. After this, he moved again to the Boston American Company. He worked as a creative short story writer. Futrelle created a detective character called Professor Augustus Van Dusen as his equivalent of the famous Sherlock Holmes. Van Dusen became known as the Thinking Machine for his ability to crack open difficult mystery cases. The Thinking Machine appeared in close to 50 detective stories beginning in 1905. He eventually moved from short stories to writing novels in 1906. With his name already famous, Futrelle spent the next 6 years writing and publishing novels. In early 1912, he and his wife traveled to Europe to write articles and research items of interest. On April 9th, Futrelle hosted a party to celebrate his 37th birthday in London, prior to his departure the following day. The couple were running late as they boarded the brand-new RMS Titanic on April 10th in Southampton. It was said that Jack continued writing while on board the ship. History records a photograph taken of Jack after leaving Cherbourg and on the way to Queenstown. The photographer and seminarian known as Father Brown took this photo of Jack on the boat deck standing just outside the gymnasium on April 11, 1912. It was the last photo ever taken of the famous writer. On the evening of Sunday the 14th, the Futrelles had a sumptuous dinner in the B-Deck a la carte restaurant, dining with Henry and Irene Harris, who were involved in the New York theater scene. Mae Futrelle would ironically describe this splendid dinner, saying later that they were filled with the joy of living. After dinner, Jack had developed a headache, so he and Mae retired to their stateroom, where he fell asleep and she stayed up reading. Mae noticed a shiver in the ship at approximately 11:40 p.m., and when she began to hear footsteps in the hallway, she eventually woke Jack up and he went to investigate. Originally, they were told that they had brushed against an iceberg, but there was no danger. However, that would soon change. In due time, the stewards came by, telling everyone to put on their lifebelts and report up to the boat deck. The Futrelles did so quickly. Mae Futrelle refused to board several lifeboats, preferring to stay with her husband on the deck. Eventually, Jack told her in a loud voice to go, and he would find another boat to escape on. She finally acquiesced to her husband. Many accounts put Mae Futrelle in lifeboat number 9, but it is speculated that because she saw Colonel John Jacob Astor load his young wife into lifeboat number 4 at 1:50 a.m. and then stand on deck smoking a cigarette with Jack, that Mae Futrelle possibly entered collapsible boat D shortly after. Lifeboat D was the last lifeboat successfully launched from the Titanic. It left the port side at 2:05 a.m., just 15 minutes before the ship's final plunge. Jacques Futrelle died in the sinking. He was 37 years old. His body was never found. Mae Futrelle published some of his stories posthumously later that year and in 1914. And as if losing Jack wasn't bad enough, just 3 months after the sinking, Jack's mother passed away, with many thinking that she died of a broken heart after losing her son. As with many other widows in this story, Mae Futrelle continued on until she passed away in 1967 at the age of 91. Thanks for watching Profiles from the Titanic.